And call the Lebanon City Council Committee's meeting to order for September 3rd, 2024. Okay, roll call. Bennett.
Here.
Branch.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Farrow. Here. Stevenson.
Here.
Trinka.
Here.
Washington. Whitty.
Here.
Everybody's here. Moving on, audience participation. Mrs. Siani.
Yes, I just wondered if there's any update. I know I texted you or emailed you earlier, but I wondered if anybody else had any kind of info, any update on this taxing the residents or the business district.
This is something I was handed to read. Okay, online sales, purchases made online used to not charge sales tax. However, due to the enactment of the Illinois Public Acts, PA 101-0031 and 101-0604, remote retailers and marketplace facilitators that meet certain thresholds are required to register to collect and remit Illinois retailers' occupation tax based upon the purchaser's location. This would apply to online retailers like eBay, Amazon, and many others. This act is called the Level the Playing Field Act and went into effect January 1st, 2021. It is intended to help mitigate the loss of revenue that taxing bodies were seeing due to the growing popularity of online purchases and allow traditional brick and mortar businesses to compete with online sellers by making sales tax the same for both types of purchases. That's all I was told to do. And this is from our economic development advisor.
I understand that. And every other taxpayer in Lebanon has to pay that. I'm state of Illinois, when I spoke with them, all 4 different offices, I understand that that's leveled the playing field so that Illinois doesn't miss out. My problem is my neighbors behind me, my neighbors across a street over, they're not paying it. I didn't ask to be in this, and I don't know why it's the people on this one street, why it's their responsibility to pay an extra tax when other people in town don't have to. Now, if the city wanted to pass an additional sales tax, I understand that if it's put to a vote and the majority votes it in, I understand it and need to live with it. The problem I have is this, I feel like this was something snuck in. And people said, oh, we should have come to the public hearing. I read about the notice for the public hearing. And from what I got from the notice, it was an extra sales tax to be collected by the businesses. And I figured if they want to collect it, more power to them. It's going to help them and their storefronts and their businesses. The problem I have is why are individual citizens being charged for this? Why it's their responsibility to pay this? And the other thing I wondered, who do we go to when we have a question about this? Because nobody seemed to have the answer, and I just want to make sure I'm getting the correct information. And no one really seemed, everybody told me to go talk to somebody else and someone else and someone else. And so where do we go in cases like this? I mean, I think I'm doing what I'm supposed to do by coming, to the people that voted on it and passed this. So is there any recourse? Or do I need to bring more people in? Because I talked to a couple of my neighbors and one told me to write a letter and pass it out to everybody. And I'd like to get a current map because the one online just says proposed. So I'd like to have a current map so I know which houses to go to pass out my letters. And if that's what it's gonna take, I don't wanna cause a fuss. I just wanted to know why you couldn't have this business district. And then in the future, if you needed another one, then pass one for up there. But I don't see how all of these houses are gonna become businesses all the way out to the commons. And if this lasts for 23 years, it may be a small amount that you're paying now, but who knows? You know, if you buy a car in Missouri, do car taxes include that extra tax? That could add up. Now, there's just a lot of unknown. Thank you.
Well, thank
Any
you.
answers from anybody?
We don't respond at this point, but I may be able to give you something later. Thank you.
Okay,
Anybody else? Mr. Tring.
Yeah, George, Ron Training. I just wanted to bring something to the attention of the board. I wasn't quite sure where to go with this. Was looking through real estate listings, property for sale in town the other day. There's a house for sale at, what's the address? 218 North Herman Street, okay? It's 32 acres. The property is for sale for $1,100,000, okay? The real estate tax on that is $1,800. What I'm trying to figure out is why. Reason I'm questioning this is in the past, I have, things have come up where paperwork didn't get to the county properly in places weren't taxed properly. It's the only thing I can figure out, it's either that or these people are considered disabled military and they've got a reduced rate because of that. Now, that's a possibility. If that's the case, fine, let me know. If it's not.
Yeah. I'll look into it.
Hmm?
I'll look into it.
Yeah, that's, if it's not, then, that's not the case, then the city's missing out on a heck of a bunch of money here, because that's $1 million house.
hey, Ron,
Hmm?
could some of that not be in the city limits?
No, it's all in
It's
the
all in
city
city
limit,
limits.
most of it.
Okay, I thought maybe it was unincorporated.
It's in the city. I was up there when they did the hearings for, when they were asking, I don't know if everybody remembers, but when they asked for, to get livestock there, animals there. My understanding is that deal does not go with the property sold, correct?
That would have special use.
That's what's mine. I'm just curious about that, because they never did get livestock. I think they tried it. It didn't work out well. They found out, I think it was way more work than they thought it was. That's all. Thank you.
Hey,
What was the address again?
218 North Herman.
Herman.
I saw that too. I thought, where is that?
I think that man did become disabled. I think that is why they did not get livestock and why they didn't share on them.
Hmm.
You don't want that.
any other public comment?
He since passed away.
Thank you. So it's on the agenda, any older person?
I got well, I'll just turn it in somewhere else. I got a nasty note here at my table. And I just asked the ladies in the office, did they give this to me? And they said no, but I know what to do with it.
Okay, thank you.
Because we have cameras, so we should know everybody that comes through this door.
Right,
Yes, thank you.
the North Herman thing there. I was on the council when that whole thing came up. And, it's technically, it's agricultural. Most of that property is zoned agricultural. And that's a lower tax. That's part of it. But then if the person has a military disability, they get a big waiver. But that only carries if the person who buys it has a military disability. If they don't have that disability, it'll go back to a regular tax rate when it changes hands. Hope that helps you, Ron.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Moving on to committees. Cemetery Committee.
The sign is progressing. I thought that the stone that they needed to, before they could put the wrought iron on, had been delivered, but apparently it was caps for some of the brickwork, which they did put the caps on the brickwork the other day. But there was nobody working today, as far as I know. I was out there. The grass cutting has seemed to work pretty good. There's been a few times when I would have liked to seen it a little bit lower, but I'm very happy. I was not enthusiastic when we were gonna cut our own grass. I didn't think it would get done, but apparently it is getting done. And the trimming around the thing by using this grass retardant, it seems to keep the stones and everything from getting really weedy. So I'm pleased that. So the grass cutting is going on, and we're probably saving a lot of money as a result of doing it ourselves rather than paying a company to come in and do it when it's not really needed without having sufficient amount of rain. So that's it.
I thank you, Mr. Trinka. Anything else for streets for cemetery? Else? Moving on, I have nothing for ordinance. Does anybody have anything for me for ordinance? We do have to go through, I'm going through I lost the week now, but there are some ordinances that we have to eliminate because they're counter to state statute. Statutes change, our ordinances then, so we have to remove them from our books. They do them over the next several months, several weeks, not months. Public property.
This is just to kind of get you guys in, but discuss some possibilities for updating the city hall building. I know there are a lot of things that when OSHA was out here, I don't know if those things have been taken care of or not, but some of them were very expensive. And then another option would be possibly to level this building if it becomes like a money pit. And another one would be find another location, another building in town. So I'm just want to get feedback from the council.
I'll give you my feedback. Leveling the building is probably the most expensive, but in the long run, the lowest cost. In the long run, because then it would be an updated facility, new everything new. It will have appropriate technologies for that time, but it wouldn't take long for it to get outdated. But that's usually what happens. I don't know of another facility in town that could accommodate City Hall.
I think it would be a great idea. I think that, if this is prime real estate, okay? Why we shouldn't have, our meetings or our city, on prime real estate. You know, we could function down the road, down, highway, N or something or whatever. You might not even have to tear this down. You could segregate it and put it up for retail. But then the other side of the coin is, I haven't really seen all there's always vacancy here.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like, if you were to do that,
See,
there's a risk there.
another building in town would have to meet all the ADA requirements.
Oh, sure.
And that's problem, like in this area, a lot of the buildings don't meet it, and because of the historic nature, we're not required to do anything with them. But that would be my thought. My best scenario is to do a new city hall. Now, that's gonna require a referendum with the people so they can raise the taxes for it. We're probably talking about a $7 or $8 million building.
Anybody else have anything?
Anybody have any thoughts as to where it might be located?
Actually, that's not a good idea to talk about in public meeting. I was in a public meeting for the school district. I was chairing a community committee for the school district. And when we were talking about the elementary school, taking it down and building a new school, there was a piece of property in town that was for sale. And somebody brought up at that meeting, why don't we put it on that piece of property? Another person said, that's a good idea. The next day, the cost of that property went up by $15,000. So it's not wise to talk about where to locate in public meeting until we've had a discussion. in closed session. Just my caveat.
Well, there's a lot of money that needs to be spent on the building. Or have to be something. I think either way we go, you'll have to be a referee.
Right, it will be, because there's a cost benefit, you know, what's the cost benefit to upgrading this building as opposed to building a new one?
Everybody else, I just threw that out there to see what people had to say,
That's true.
because I'm kind of on the same page with it, so it's. Like I said, this money pit, you know what I'm saying, I think the roof is supposed to cost like $100,000 or something like that, and then that's just one item.
Yeah, that's just.
So $100,000, multiple ones gotta add up.
We've probably sunk, in the last 20 years, probably sunk more than $500,000 or more into this building. And it's all been just upkeep. Hasn't been anything new. Plus, we have parts of the building we can't even use because of the condition we're in. By the way, on property, what's the chances of getting rid of that old diesel engine out of the shop back there?
Have to talk to Cody. See what he wants to
Yeah,
do.
you can't run it, it's inside, it's got an exhaust.
It would have to be surplus and
Yeah, that's surplus. That would give them some floor space back there. Just a thought.
Well, you'd have to replace it, wouldn't you?
Why?
There's a proposal for it too. He said he's already got a proposal for it and there. I just think he's waiting for.
He has to ask us if we want to surplus it.
I just
I'll
know,
talk to him and see what we got.
Yeah,
I was here whenever they did their walkthrough.
I remember him talking about it, but it's been a while.
yeah. There's probably some historic value to it, but who knows?
You can give it to the folks across the street.
Oh, I'm on that board, I'm not
Yeah,
sure
I
we
know.
take it. Become a liability in the basement.
That's it for me then, if nobody else has anything.
Yeah, so- Okay, moving on.
Well,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, no, go ahead,
You're-
my mistake.
Moving on, streets and alleys.
Okay, we've, item number one is to discuss and possibly recommend, the Looking Glass Playhouse to have their haunted happenings on October 11th and 12th of 2024. Looking. And, I think you all got the attachment on this,
Right.
like this, talks about costume guides, so we'll escort you through downtown Lebanon to hear stories of the unusual and creepy, and the downtown ride scary. Material is suitable for all Halloween lovers of all ages. Jackets and gloves are encouraged. They're 15-minute tours. They leave every 15 minutes from 7 till 8:30.
Yes.
And the tickets would only still be at $5. Tourists per tour per participant.
I talked to Gigi Dowling who sent that, and she said she didn't want you guys to think that they had already made up all those flyers. That was just a set specimen one, and then
Okay.
with your recommendation, they'll run it off.
So are they,
They assumed it was okay. They do this every year. They've been doing it for probably, I'm gonna say a good 15 years.
It is normally the weekend after this, but since we changed the date, which is night out, we worked with them and had them bump it back a weekend for us.
it would seem they're not really asking us to do anything.
They just use the.
They're on
mini
the
park
sidewalks,
and-
that's all.
Yes, they're on the public side.
So this is more informational than anything else. I don't think the city's being asked to do anything with this.
No, I don't believe
Use the city, little park one.
They do stop in the mini park at the gazebo, but the mini park is public use also.
Right.
so. Okay. Number two is the Home Improvement Association requests the closure of True Value Drive in front of the Ace Hardware Store. All day on September 28th to set up and run activities for Oktoberfest scheduled from 1 to 9. The exact area will be worked out with Bill Milliken as to not interfere with the business traffic. And that's from 1 PM to 9 PM on that September 28th. They'll be holding Oktoberfest on the Ace parking lot. Then they'll need time to set up and tear down and clean up. So we request the use of the city-owned picnic tables for the event.
We don't.
We actually
So,
might not need the picnic tables. Bill's going to let us use his picnic tables, so
Okay.
we probably won't need the picnic tables from the park. Our plan is to use True Value Road, and to leave enough space for customers to still be able to get into Ace and to do their shopping and things like that.
The city doesn't really own any picnic tables. We store them for Horner Park District. So that would be the Park District would have that, if they need the picnic tables, I'll have to go to the Park District for permission to use those. And I don't see any problem with it because it's,
It's a dead
Street
end
doesn't
street
go
down
anywhere.
there in front of it, so, yeah.
the street doesn't go anywhere. Basically, the parking lot is where the events are.
It's
It's
really a
just to
good
prevent
place for
cars
that.
from running down.
Is this the first,
First
or
one.
that is,
Yeah.
This is the first Oktoberfest that we've done down with this. We're a newly formed group.
I think this would go with committee recommendation.
I think so, too, anybody against recommending
I just have a question, Bobby. It says all day to begin with. I mean, they're setting up in that time period
It
in
is.
the actual program or whatever,
Yeah,
from 1 to 9, right?
Yes, but we will need the street shut down all day because,
From like 8 AM or 7 AM or whatever.
yeah, as soon as they get out there, I don't know exactly what time everybody's gonna get out there, to start setting up.
I just wanna make sure that they're, you know, I'm saying that if it's all day, the road's closed, you know, all day, not just from 1 to 9.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll probably be about 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning until at least 10 or 11 o'clock at night, it'll be shut down.
So,
I'm gonna stay standing because I'm next also.
yeah, you are. So can we move that forward and
I think it's a recommendation.
I think we can move it forward as a recommendation. Okay, and then on the last item under is Victoria Holiday, which is now scheduled for November 23rd for the parade. They have requested to amend the approved closure of St. Louis Street to include a small portion of Belleville Street from Alton to St. Louis Street. This would keep cars from proceeding up to the stop sign at St. Louis Street, where there are no exit or turnaround areas.
So what happened is, as we were looking at the map, we realized that this little portion here, we didn't have closed.
Yeah.
And then we would still have cars coming up here and no way for them to turn around or get out. So we just are asking to close that little portion for about an hour until parade's lined up and gets started, and then it would open back up.
That would be for the eastbound traffic on Belleville Street.
It would be for both, because, so we already
I
have,
know what it is.
we already have that closed.
It's the eastbound traffic on Belleville Street between Alton and St. Louis. Actually, so
It would just be this.
I know which section it is. It's just the clarification for the record is that it's eastbound traffic.
Hey, Jay, is there a time on that?
Because there wouldn't be any.
Right.
It is. Look at my street closures, because I didn't print
I
it out.
don't see timing.
I think it's from 11:30 to 12:30, but I don't want to tell you the wrong.
What is there on after?
For lineup, you mean?
It's from 11 to 12:30. It's about an hour and a half.
Okay, so we'll move that forward as a recommendation. Okay, so we'll proceed with the recommendation of multiple events. And that is it for streets and alleys.
Anybody else have anything else for streets and alleys? Okay, moving on.
Oh, I do.
Okay,
this is the majority of the streets and alleys, some of them that I have seen that's been overgrown needs to be cut down, and I heard that our lawnmower or something, I guess it's the big machine that they cut it with, is missing a tooth or something, and that happened last year too. I don't know if you all heard about it, but, so it needs to be fixed if it's missing a tooth. But I just didn't understand why we couldn't use some of the other equipment that we have to take care of some of that business.
Let me talk to
Because-
Cody and find out what that's actually missing,
Okay,
because, if it's just missing, and that thing, it goes on the front of the Bobcat, and it will chew up small branches and trees and stuff too, so, the regular lawnmowers will not do that,
I know.
and we'll tear our lawnmowers up if we
Exactly.
try to take
And that's
those
probably
out.
why it's
So,
told, I don't know, but,
but let me find out what that is
Okay.
and see if we can't get it taken care of under maintenance and get that, so
okay.
that can move forward, and I'll let you know.
Mhm.
Yes,
Those, well, last week they were talking about, selling a truck and a, snowplow.
yeah,
Is that the only snowplow that we have?
no, that was just the one that fits that particular unit. We do have the other small dump truck that has its own snowplow, and the big one has a snowplow. So we still have the snowplows. That one is just being surplus, and it won't fit any of that snowplow will not fit the equipment that we have.
Okay, cause I know when we got that new truck, they said one of the snowplows could fit it.
And he has that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, anything, last call, anything else for streets and alleys?
But I will verify with them for that too, so.
Thanks, Bob.
I got one thing, streets and alleys. You know, down here at the police department, it's overgrown with plants down there and everything, and, you know, if you're from out of town or in town and you drive by, you don't know where the police department is. If they could just go out there and trim the bushes, it would be nice.
Well, I got a quick question. Have we heard anything as to when they're gonna come on Janet Street over there? If that's COVID.
You can't hear you. You
I
have to speak
said,
up.
I said, have we heard anything for street Janet over there? Have we heard anything out of Cody? I saw
Do
the,
you mean the gutter over there?
yes, the drainage. Have we heard anything? As to when they're gonna take a look at it and,
That would be on the contractor, but I think
well, have we heard anything from the contractor?
I have not. But they were, the TWM, the engineer and that are supposed to be looking at that. So hopefully we'll know this week,
Oh, yeah,
because I'm pretty sure. And Chris Brothers and whoever did the concrete for that.
I'm sorry, but this is audience participation. period.
it's over.
It's over, yeah.
Okay, I'll be back next.
All right, thank you.
And I'll send an email, because my question in the beginning has never been answered, when and where. Because I need to get me someone to make sure you all doing the right thing.
Okay, anything else? Moving on, is there any unfinished business?
Yeah, George, I got something.
Go ahead.
On the August 26th agenda, we had something under unfinished business regarding the membership of the Business District Committee. I just have something to read that's kind of relates to that.
Okay,
On Wednesday, the 28th of August, the mayor, Michelle, Stephanie, and I had a phone meeting with Jake Zambaldi at Moran about our business district that they helped us develop. It was a very informative meeting. We spoke for a little over an hour. Jake will be helping the city create a business district grant application process and a redevelopment agreement for projects approved by the city council. Details of the application process will be shared at a later date. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. Just from experience, I can tell you right now, there'll be applications, but those applications will not be made public until they're ready to be acted upon, or they require some other input, because it could impact the funding and other aspects if they're done in a public meeting before they're acted. So the city council would be probably informed initially during a closed meeting on these things. That's my guess, based upon experience.
Okay, and I've got one more thing for unfinished business.
Okay, go ahead.
We talked about the speed humps and speed bumps before in the past. And Dale has done some homework on those, and Dale has offered to purchase a couple of these for a trial. To see if we can get those, see if they will work for the city, or if they won't work for the city. We're going to look into them a little bit more and see if we can't work with Dale and see about getting a couple of those for to try out to, so we know whether they're going to work or not before we jump in with both feet and try to use them in multiple places around the town.
Just as a caveat, I believe that those would be considered a gift to the city. And if they're of a minimum value, I'm not sure what that value is, the council would have to accept the gift formally. Yes,
And it depends on,
that's the
price
cost.
range, so, yeah.
Right, it's gonna depend upon the price range. I think the cutoff is like $5,000. We would have to accept the gift.
Have a research.
It would be
done for
be
a
less than
location, probably a location or.
we have one recommendation out here on Belleville Street.
Okay, that's my question.
Yeah, we do have, and did you have a location on the other one?
No, basically, we were just talking about putting one, either maybe both directions, east and west, on Belleville Street to see whether it is acceptable. And Charlie Whitty pulled something up. I pulled something up, which I handed out to all the aldermen. But this one's about 6 or 8 pages long. It's a lot of it says pretty much the same thing as the other one did. There's a lot of redundancy, but it emphasizes getting the community, the people that is gonna be there, to make sure they wanna do it. Make sure you all have the legal entities to do it. I have contacted not only the Cody, but the police department. I've talked to the Miller, the fire department. I've talked to the people with the ambulance service. And apparently I found out from Cody that the area that we're talking about, roughly between the area of the entrance to the golf course and the road that goes up to Cedar Ridge, that would be probably the most appropriate location. Apparently that is not in, that's either the township or the county. So we have to make sure that, you know, we're not doing anything. Luckily, we don't deal with IDOT. Otherwise, it would take a few more months to accomplish. So, and then Cody is gonna do some checking too. There's one place in Belleville, I think on the east end of Belleville, that has these types of devices, so we can find out more specifically the cost. And we would want to get the ones that you could bolt down and unbolt if that's necessary. Also to make sure that there's enough of a lane for cyclists to go through. And we have to put signs, I believe it's 100 feet, but I can't remember for sure, prior to the bumps, to let people know that the bump is gonna be there. These devices that we're talking about will slow traffic down to approximately 20 miles an hour. These are called humps, HUMPS. There's things called bumps, and bumps, if put in properly, they knock your speed down to about 5 miles an hour. So it's almost a stop. So the humps allow traffic to move, but at the same time not cause any excessive damage, you know, to the vehicle.
I think that's great.
And I know that, Pat said he's had people already to make comments to him because he lives in that area.
Yeah, gathering signatures by, up and down that area by, they came up with a couple of things. First of all, this is what they tell me, that, they never see the police, and there's not much police, that hang out around there, they like to at least see them every now and then. And then the speeding with the, items that you're talking about, Belleville Street, just like this one, in one respect, it's kind of like, Belleville is a residential street, not a commercial street. But yet its speed limit is more of a, and I think that ought to be looked into to cut the, speed limit there. And then out here, I don't know, it seems like we would want some of these cars to slow up so they could at least take a look in the windows of some of these, places to shop or whatever. But out here, can't be really, they go down quick.
We found that out from the study that was conducted because of the width of the street. We could fairly inexpensively put in some traffic calming devices, like a couple of big concrete culverts and turn them into planters at the two major corners, and just narrowing that street will calm the traffic and slow it down.
Well, that's what we probably ought to do.
Well, that's in that plan. If we get the grant, that'll be in that plan. But in the meantime, and if we don't get it or we're waiting for it, there's nothing to stop us from putting some of those out there now at those corners, put on on two sides of the street at both places, and that will just narrow that traffic down through here, slow it down, big time.
That would accomplish.
Who is going to do it? Our people are gonna do it. We have to give them money and they have to do the research to do it. It's legal. We can do it. It's our street.
I think we need to get some tickets too, though.
Oh, yeah.
Got today.
Enforcement's a good thing.
Yeah, about $150 ticket, and we only gonna get $8 off of it. That $8 will help pay a salary, that $8 will help pay a lot. I don't know how much the city gets off of a ticket. But I know that we can generate income because it's not only up in here where residents live, it's down 50, it's down 4, especially in the school area where children have to go to school, they can barely get across the street, and that's a shame.
I'm just gonna put out a slight caveat, not complaining here, but we have to be very cautious about talking about tickets as revenue. There's a state law, we cannot do that. So we can talk about tickets for enforcement, but not for revenue, so separate revenue from the ticket.
Have we ever thought about,
Police off, that's what your chief said,
Yeah.
so I got that from him.
Right, I
So
agree.
didn't nobody correct him when he said it, but he said it first, and that's why.
Well, he said they're
he
not
said
allowed
what
to
we
talk
get from
about
it, I don't know.
He said they're not allowed to talk about tickets as revenue. They can't talk, they're not a revenue generator, they're an enforcement. So that's what we have to do.
just another thing, when there was the fellow, the economic development guy came in and all that kind of jazz, he indicated, if I'm correct, that if you have angled parking out here, you can get a lot more cars, since we're rather limited on parking. Why can't we do that?
We could do that in combination with the traffic calming devices on the corners. They could be on the street on the corners and narrow the traffic there. And then we could put in diagonal parking down the street now, at least on one side probably, now.
Why do you say on one side?
Because I don't think there's a room for both sides right now. We would still have parallel on one side and angle on the other. just because it's not quite wide enough for two angles. And that's what that's kind of what he was hinting at when he showed us the thing. Because he never showed us a proposal with angle on both sides. There's always angle on one side, parallel on the other. But that is something that we don't have to have a whole redo of the street to do that kind of thing.
Right.
We just gotta put the traffic calming at the corner and indicate it's diagonal parking. That's it.
We gotta do it.
We did it during COVID. During COVID, we changed the whole parking structure of that street to slow it down. Put traffic calming devices at the ends. We blocked part of it, slowed it down.
Some of these things sound very good, as I said, but it's another time, George was saying he's talked about it for about 4 years. And I've heard it for at least the year that I've been here. What I'm proposing is trying something and doing it now.
Agreed.
If it doesn't, it's not gonna cost a fortune. It may or may not work, but we find if it does work, it gives us impetus to move forward on some additional things.
So then what's the next step?
Well, that's up to the council and the police and the fire department.
Are you
Everybody.
asking for a vote on it? To do it?
Well, I would
Move
like to
forward?
see us move forward on it.
Well, I'll go
Well,
for that.
Like I said, I'm not sure this is.
What we need is a written proposal that details what's gonna happen, so we can get it into an ordinance format.
But why can't we just say before that? You wanna do it or not?
That's
So
what we can do right now.
Why move
If-
ahead?
If we wanna move forward to it, let's just say, let's
Let's do it. Move on.
let's move
Let's
on, and
Take a
I
vote
can
and
ask
then we
the
can
attorney
do the
to-
other stuff.
I can ask our attorney to do something, but
Yeah.
before we jump into it, we really do need to see an initial proposal in writing, at least at the committee level, before we tell them what to do.
Well, I would disagree with that. You know more about it than I do, but going to
Oh, we
another committee and another committee.
I'm not saying go into committee. Pat, what I'm saying is that we can't, too often, the city council has jumped into something and just done it. And found out later, wait a minute, there's a problem here. So we need to have that one meeting in
But
between.
what I'm suggesting is that we take a tally on his, rather than put it off and whatnot. So,
I agree.
and then find out that nobody,
I'm in favor of moving forward with the recommendation to do traffic calming devices on Belleville Street between Madison and Monroe, and just traffic calming approaches, and they don't have to be devices, they're just approaches. There's an entire manual the state came out with on traffic calming approaches. And those include the planters and things like that, that slow traffic down. As long as you put the warning signs up that there's traffic coming, we can do it.
Okay, it's not on the agenda.
What?
Not on the agenda.
It's under, a new business. We're not making any votes or anything, recommendations. We cannot make a recommendation tonight because it's not on the agenda. We can discuss it. But bring it up as a recommendation at a future meeting.
Okay.
We gotta be careful what we talk about.
okay.
All right, any other business?
I have one thing to say.
Okay,
before you go. And that is that, once a year we go, with the water that we get from, SLM, they go to a free residual, which means the chlorine smell is stronger, means they don't feed ammonia. I will be making an all call about that tomorrow, because of the, potential danger can have to dialysis patients. And then I'll be delivering notices to, the nursing homes and, any other facilities that we can think of that might need that in town, but, just so everybody knows, that call will go out in the morning.
When is they starting scheduled to start?
They started actually feeding today, but we are stop feeding ammonia, but we don't see that for usually a week or more.
Okay.
Usually it's in the second week after, because it has to get to our tank and then go on, but I'd like for everybody to know a little bit ahead of time so they can make plans. I mean, most people don't have
That's why I just wanted to
Hearing,
go out on the
like-
recording so that everybody would have
Yeah.
it, so
Yeah.
that's why I asked, so thank you.
No problem.
And by the way, we now have staff running the owl, so I don't have to do that and try to run the meeting and see what's happening and do that, so it'll be more consistent with the recordings. I appreciate it. Is there any other business? Meeting adjourned. That's all I really do.